And we live. We live. Let's get these things set up. So we are live. Put the phone in the holder right here. And I'm also gonna go ahead and get the other line set up. And this getting my guests. All right. So got him taken care of. So shout out to everybody that's coming in the building. Like always, hit that like button. Hit the like. For everybody that's coming in the building, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Let me check this audio over here on my end. Okay. Let me mute this up. Check the audio. Okay, so I guess we're just gonna have to let it be for a minute. But let me go ahead and bring Alonzo up. And if he's ready, he'll be up. But if not, gonna continue. So basically right now, I always talk about life insurance and make it easy on everybody. I always talk about Alonzo. Alonzo having the title of the All-Star advisor. So, of course, I would have to bring him on several times to keep people informed, about the insurance and everything. And, you know, not just life insurance, Alonzo is also a financial advisor, so he can, advise you on the multiple things, the website, and all to where CG Wealth Solution to where we can get on there and look up everything that we need. Trying to make sure I'm getting everything set up on all ends and making sure everything is live. Okay. But yeah, man,
Yeah, I'm sharing it a couple places.
okay, cool. The biggest thing that, I always push about that generational wealth, man, is, actually being prepared. And I actually got this from you. We had a discussion where you say, you insure your car, you insure your house, you know, why not have life insurance? Insure your life. We have health coverage with our medical care providers to where if anything happened to us, we get checkups, insurance for to where if anything you break or, a multitude of things, your skin, something happens, you can always use your insurance to pay for that. Same thing about life insurance. You can actually use your life insurance while you're alive, and you always talk about this all the time. There's the difference between life insurance and death insurance, you know, and a lot of people fail to realize that when getting policies and trying to figure out what's their best options. And, personally, I always say with you, it's better to go with an advisor that kind of, works with you and let you know the difference between, what what do you have as far as your policy.
Oh, you faded out there a little bit. I don't know if that was my Wi-Fi or yours.
Nah, that was me. I'd put myself on mute because I just pulled up my channel on my phone and just to make sure Is my
Oh, it's
volume
going.
is my volume doing pretty good? Everything's good. I can hear on the other end.
Okay.
Okay.
So keep going.
Yeah, so basically, you talk about life insurance and death insurance, and that's the big difference for a lot of people. They thinking that life insurance is the same as death insurance, but to the degree, like I always say, and you say as well, you have insurance that you can pay for death insurance for your cremation. You can pay for the funeral arrangement, the repast, everything according to whatever you need, far as the tombstone, what you want on your tombstone, plots, flowers, all that. That's already paid for. But the life insurance, is guaranteed for you as you're alive. Use it beneficial ways in which I'm gonna let you go into. Because that presentation you did, the think it was last year, but to the degree you did the revamp or the video today, we had the one today, this afternoon, and I enjoyed that when the lady was talking about how she
Oh, from the brunch and wealth.
yeah, from the brunching wealth. She was the first of her generation to graduate from college, and how she was, letting things, take its course. Because the thing that was crazy about the brunching wealth, how the guy that you work with, that the financial advisor that that holds the brunching wealth, and they were having a discussion that they didn't learn this stuff until they actually got into the field. Because for the most part it was just basic. You learn about saving, you learn about spending, you learn about, just the basics, paying your bills. But to the degree, everything else, far as trust, life insurance, financial literacy, it's not taught. And, that's why I tell people, for the people that actually don't know, is because they parents didn't know. And some parents, they took the initiative to find people that knew to put their kids around them, so they can get a leg up. And it was just, like I said, just one of those things that if you didn't know, you just didn't know. But I'm gonna try to go ahead and let the man of the hour come up, and go ahead and give a breakdown and summaries, and I'll jump in every now and then if you want me to share screen. It's all up to you, man, because my biggest thing, like I say, I'm not ashamed to say it. I have my three policies for me. I have my two policies, each for one of my boys, thanks to you. And that's why I say it takes two to run a household. Far as if you're running a household with two incomes with the parents, and if one of the parents leave, or tragedy happens to where they die, it's gonna be hard for you to run that house, and you're working off of two incomes. So, for the people that actually are married, whether it be husband or wife, considering life insurance as an option, even if you're not married, life insurance is an option, because if you die, how are you going to get buried? Like, who's going to be responsible for burying you? You're going to relieve everything in the hands of your family and friends, to make sure that they take care of you after you pass. You're going to make sure that everybody is properly donating money, because if you don't leave no money to be buried, that means you're hoping and wishing that people are giving you money. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and touch on that. I'm gonna go ahead and mute up.
No problem. Thank you. And please, please, please ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. That's the only way I can definitely help. The best, or any financial professional that you're dealing with, the best way they can help you is two ways. One, you have to be completely, completely honest and transparent and open with them. And two, you have to ask questions, right? You have to lead the conversation, and then their job is to help guide you. So they might ask vague questions like, what is some of the things that you like, or this, that, and the third, just to kind of gauge an idea of ways they can help you to point your finances. But when we talk about financial planning or financial independence, or you know let's look at one of the things I talk about, which is about building your financial house. And in terms of sharing screen sheet, I do want to share a screen because you mentioned marriage, but I got to go to my laptop to do that. And right now I'm on my phone, so I'll do that in a couple minutes. But in terms of building that financial household, you want to look at or excuse me, that financial house, you want to look at starting with your foundation, because just like a physical house, right? If you hired somebody to build your physical house and they started with the roof, you would want to fire them, because you'd be like, you didn't dig a hole in the ground and pour concrete, something for this structure to stand on. What's this roof going to stand on? You're just going to put the roof on the ground and hope nothing happens to it? Right? Unfortunately, especially in our community, we've been taught to start by building with the roof. This is things like investing or going into crypto or flipping real estate, right? But we don't have our foundation there. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, especially when you're looking at things like, um, personally, I don't like crypto at all, but the good thing about it is it allows the what Wall Street calls unsophisticated investor to be able to get in without that barrier of entry, right? Most accounts are going to start at a minimum of a $10,000 buy-in. Plus, you have to pay the commission. For example, if you came to me to invest, yes, I'll invest your $10,000, but you still have to pay me my commission for investing your $10,000. So there's things that are involved in that. Um, that become barriers of entry to the regular person. So apps like Robinhood and Acorn and Stash are great for the average person who maybe doesn't have a ton of knowledge on investing and things of that nature. Anytime somebody gives you a one size fits all, you should steer clear from those financial gurus or what have you. And the reason why, for example, Dave Ramsey, Sue Zorman, buy term, invest the rest, or even one of the models that I like to tout about a lot, which is infinite banking. It's not for everybody, right? And each and every different strategy is for a different reason. And for example, with life insurance itself, wealthy people, they'll usually put at least 7 policies on one life. So what that would mean is, for me, I might do a buy term invest the difference and also do another policy for infinite banking, but also had another policy when I was born so that I could have a college fund. And then another policy that I use for collateral assignment to buy a business. And then another policy I have to protect my mortgage. And then another policy I have so when I die, I leave $25,000 a year to my wife for 10 years. So that's about 7 policies right there, right? Um, and it adds up really quickly in terms of different things there. So I know you mentioned features and benefits, but I want to stop right quick, see if you got any questions or anything.
No, I'm actually listening, man. Like I said, go ahead and rock out. I'll jump in.
All right, no problem. So where was I? So features and benefits. So realistically, and this is just on insurance, man. It gets so deep, and the way that it's advertised to you, it's unfortunately very misleading, right? One of the most misleading things, for example, is like they'll put the commercial on TV and they'll say, "Oh, a $750,000 policy for a healthy 40-year-old man is, $14 a month." And while that may be true, that's true under very specific circumstances. What that is, number one, is going to be the cheapest possible policy, which is a 10-year term. It's also going to be for a specific health class, which is because there's different health ratings. So it's going to be a superior health class, meaning, you've never sneezed or had to go to the doctor for anything. You've always had perfect health. Now, those situations actually do happen. I had a client who, ironically enough, applied for $750,000 of a 10-year term. It was quoted to him at $120 a month. He was 41 years old at the time. He's a firefighter. When he took his health exam, they came back to him and said, "Sir, you're healthier than what we have on the application. The application just said you're a regular standalone healthy guy. When we took your physical exam, you have an athlete's health, so you're healthier than the average person." So instead of $120 a month for $750,000 worth of life insurance, we have a few options for you. You can remain paying $120 a month for life insurance, but it'll be about $1 million worth of a death benefit. Or we can remain at $750,000 worth of a death benefit, but you'll only pay $90 a month. So he elected to remain at $750,000 of a death benefit and only pay $90 a month. So your health is wealth, and the fact that your health actually can affect your premium. Now, let's look at that on the other side of things. I've had another client who applied for a lesser amount. He applied for $250,000 worth of life insurance. However, he had a specific build, so he was overweight, right? So this guy was 6 foot, I think 6'1", and like 300 some odd pounds, like 350 plus pounds. I think he was like 368 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. And so while everything else health wise came back great. However, and I'm gonna check out that question really fast in a second. However, in Mortgage with Me, we need to get in touch, and I want to know what state you're licensed in because one, I'm going to take you from whatever company you're with, and you're going to work with me, come to death row. And I've got, if you're in the mortgage industry, I've got a great cross sell for you. But so he was 386 pounds, and due to that, I can't remember the price that we quoted him. Um, but because he was overweight, the price was he still was issued the policy, but the price was substantially higher than what I had originally told him. But that's because his health was different than what we originally applied. We applied for standard health, but because of his weight, the calculations were not standard. So it costs more to insure somebody in his health class because medical complications, people with who are overweight tend to die sooner. Um, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's the biggest part. A lot of people tend to want to get life insurance and focus on their loved ones as they get older, and they forget about when you get old you have more complications, and that's when the insurance costs more. But technically speaking, if you start thinking about it at a younger age, there's never a bad time to get life insurance. It just always depending on the risk of paying more when you want to wait late. That's why I always say you don't want to be 60 or 70 years old getting your life together. That's something that normally people in their 30s to 40s say. Get in your 50s, you should have somewhat of an idea. But going forth, you want to get your life together at a very young age and start thinking about, future goals at that time. And like you say, health being one of the issues, if you don't prep yourself and kind of, stay the course, keeping your health, like you said about the guy who was slim and actually more than average more than average healthier guy, the insurance is going to be cheaper because like I said, I've dealt with people that I talk to that they have to go to the gym every day and they have to check how many steps did they go, check their heart rate, and everything is ran through their insurance, but they have such a low premium plus with a high, well, not a low premium,
Deductible.
the low deductible. They actually pay a medium, a little bit over high deductible. But the thing about it is they have a lot of money that was on their insurance, you know. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at Mortgage with Me. So Mortgage with Me, get in touch with me. Give me a call like tomorrow. Um, since you're not hanging your license anywhere, and here I go recruiting, right? And this is something I don't normally do. But I'd love to have you on my team. And what I would end up doing is putting you on a broker's contract. So, there's not, production requirements. Well, obviously minimum production requirements. So, minimum production requirements would be $4,500 a year. So that's basically like two policies a year, right? It's not that difficult to do. Um, and I'm looking to build a team. and have someone who's hungry to work with, who can push me. I got a gentleman who I'm working with now, but it's difficult, and I understand people have other jobs and stuff. But he's working remote, so I wish he would be a little more active. But I also understand that this business is difficult, and when people get into it, unfortunately, they don't. A lot of people who get into this business end up falling out of it very soon. Usually, they don't even last the first 2 years because it's a whole lot of work. And someone says, uh, "So will the price stay the same as you age?" Yeah, basically, you got it there. Sheet. It's based on your health and your age. So, Red, if you're asking like when you purchase it, will the price stay the same? That question actually is answered by it depends. So it really depends on the type of life insurance that you buy. And I don't know how much time you got, Sheed, but I haven't gotten to my computer yet. But I
No,
do want
keep
to.
going. We're good. Go ahead.
Okay, no doubt. But I do want to, like I said, I want to answer a couple questions first before I go jump on my laptop and start showing off. Um, but so in terms of what life insurance is, right? A lot of people don't know the difference. And again, this comes to uh, the industry itself because of advertising, right? So most people know, well, term and whole, and people, well, what's the difference between term and whole life? So I can tell you kind of like this. A simple way of putting it is, well, term would be renting and whole life would be buying the house, right? Or, term would be leasing the car and whole life would be buying the car or financing the car, would be the better way to put it, right? Because when you're leasing the car, at the end, you have the option to buy it out, but it's really expensive. And when you're financing the car, you're buying it in smaller increments. It's a little more expensive, but you're buying it in smaller increments over time, right? What's going on, Ron? And so when you're looking at term, you have to understand that term has multiple types as well. And when you're looking at whole life, whole life has multiple types as well. Too. So first, let's look at term. What most people know of term is that literally it is what it is. Just like when the president has a term, his term is 4 years. At the end of that, yes, he can get voted back in, but after the end of his term, he wipes his hands and he's no longer the president, and that's 4 years. So with term insurance, you have one, three, well, not really three, but 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 30-year options. The most common is a 20-year term. That's generally what you'll be quoted on TV from car insurance companies, from people who say buy term and invest the difference, and so on. Now, there's also something very important about those terms because again, it's based on age. So depending on what age you get, there is a certain time where you cannot get a length of term. For example, when you are 49, you can get a 30-year term. But the moment you turn 50, you can only get a 20 or less year term. When I believe it's 60, you can only get a 10-year term. It may be 70 that you can only get a 10-year term. I don't do much term, especially with older people. But that's term insurance for you. Um, so now again, when we're looking at term, so that's the terms of term. So now let's take a look at the types of term, right? So the type of term, you've got something called annual renewable. So that's what a 1 year term is. It's not a common policy. Um, they're very rare, but they do exist, right? A lot of people don't even know that they exist, but they do. So a level A, what they basically it it's annually renewable is what they call it. And with the annually renewable term, every year you renew the policy. Um, and that's an annual renewable term. Then you'll get into what's called a level term. So, well, let me kind of explain annual and renewable term as well. So let's say, you got some financial loan or whatever. You just bought a Corvette from a guy privately. So you go buy $100,000 policy to cover your loan for your Corvette, and then the next year you don't need it supposedly, but then the next year, you find out, what, I'm still borrowing money for this. He bought another Corvette from him, so the loan extends. So you would restart the policy, but you'd have to pay a higher premium. So it's an increasing policy, but it renews annually, and you don't have to take another health exam, is basically what it is. The next one is with all levels above 1 year, and that's called level term. So what that is for the term or duration of your term of your policy, the face amount or death benefit, right, remains the same. So your face amount or death benefit is what you're buying, basically. So in this instance, we'll say you're buying $100,000. Hold on, really quick.
Okay. Yeah, you stepped off real quick, but basically, everybody can go ahead and drop your questions about life insurance and everything, and we go from there. Because, like I said, I want people to go more in depth in trying to figure out, what are your options? Do you want to go term, whole life, universal life? Do you want to just get death insurance? Do you anything long term that you're looking at? To a degree, knowing the rates on, monthly, far as the policies, what is the return of your investment? Because looking at life insurance, you're investing in your future, you know, and what are going to be the terms of your investment? You're going to get a 5%, 7%, to the degree. You put $100,000 in. Can you make more than $100,000 on a policy if you get $100,000 policy? If you do term, can you actually switch it from term to perm? Just say, well, I had a term for a minute, and it's been doing good because, to the degree, term life insurance, and this is for people with kids as well. You actually get a low rate term insurance, and you have, which Alonzo can talk to, which is a rider policy that can add your kids onto it for low monthly income. It's about $10 or so, depending on the, I guess, the underwriter that writes it. But basically having an understanding, like I said, it all starts with you actually, talking to someone, which Alonzo right here, to book a consultation and see what are your options. And, that's the biggest thing. A lot of people fail to, realize their options of where they stand because of long term. You want to do it later, you'll put it off,
Hmm.
and put it off. But go ahead, Alonzo.
So where was I? Was explaining term. So you have level term, right? So again, if let's say the death benefit or the face amount is 100 grand, so that we can keep numbers easy. So that 100,000 remains the same the entire duration of the policy, whether it's 10, 15, 20, or 30 years. And at the excuse me, and at the end of that term, you or excuse me, through the duration of that term, the policy and the face amount remain the same. So that $100,000 remains that $100,000 of death benefit for as long as the policy's in force. So if that's 10 years, at the end of 10 years, your policy, or at the end of the ninth year, the beginning of the 10th year, your policy is done, so on and so forth. And so the next would be what's called decreasing uh, term. Now, decreasing premium, not decreasing term, but decreasing face amount would basically, you'd have a level premium, but your face amount decreases. Generally, you think of these when you get sold mortgage protection life insurance. So if anybody's bought a house, you've usually signed some documents at closing. This is part of the reason that it's a 3-hour process when you're closing on your house, because um, KC from KP from KC says, I'm watching my wife's family go through this ignorant stuff right now. Grandma was 9 and refused to move the property out her name years ago. Yeah, that's estate planning. That's a little bit further. It's a little bit deeper than just life insurance when it comes to estate planning, right? And your financial professional should at least try to point you in the right directions with that, or at least have that conversation during your consult, right? So that you can say, hey, at least you're aware of what you want to do, because leaving money isn't the end of it, right? You can sometimes leave somebody some money and they still go trick it off or whatever. But so in terms of term, again, you have level, and then you have decreasing, which would be in like mortgages. So you're signing those documents for 3 hours, and what you don't realize is you usually sign something that says, yes, I'm interested in income protection. So what you'll have is someone call you and say, hey, I know you're interested in protecting your mortgage, and they'll put you in a decreasing term. Let's say your mortgage is $250,000. So they'll give you a 30-year term that starts at 250,000, and at the end, when your mortgage is supposed to be completed, your policy at the end of 30 years will also be $0 of a death benefit, because the assumption will be that you will have paid off the mortgage concurrent with having paid for that life insurance policy. So then the next you have is actually something called an increasing premium. And this is where the premiums generally increase. That's more or less an annual renewable. Other than that, you're really not going to have an increasing premium. And in turn, you're really not going to have an increasing face amount. Any questions before I keep going?
Nah, you good. Go ahead.
All right, cool. I appreciate this, bro. Also, for you bringing me up, allowing me to speak on your platform. Um, it's well appreciated. I appreciate the support. So, um, there's also, like I said, the AP was going on, Brody. Um, there is also the oh, and also shout out to Eyes Love to Talk. You was the first one in here. I didn't salute to you, sister. I'm sorry. Um, so when you're where was I? I was at increasing. So increasing premium is basically the same as annual renewable. Now, also with term, we have to look at what's called convertible, right? Because convertible term allows you to, at the end of your term, continue the policy, and you can convert it to a permanent policy without having to take the medical exam. Now, we have to understand about term policies. One of the things about term policies is that at the end of the term, you are allowed to continue your policy. This is why people will have a policy. And for example, if you put it on auto pay, which is recommended to put it on auto pay. I would recommend just put it on auto pay. And also, the less you pay, the less you pay. What I mean by that is the less frequency you pay, then they actually give you a slight discount on your annual premium. So if you can pay it once a year, you'll actually save yourself. It's not a whole bunch of money, but it's a small amount, and you'll still get the same if it's a participating policy dividends. I'll explain participating policy later. If you don't mind going an hour or so, then definitely. Um,
Yeah, we good, man. I'm prepared to go. 2 hours. We got to get the message out. That's what counts.
all right, no doubt. I appreciate it, brother. Like I said, man, I love to. excuse me. I love to do this education as much as I can. Before I go on, make sure y'all hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so y'all get notified every time she drops something new. Because he does support a lot of platforms, so we got to make sure to support him. Um, He dropped my link in the description. Make sure y'all like and follow me, please. I do have an event coming February 18th, another Brunch and Wealth. This is about business formation. And the ill part about it is you can already be a formed business and you'll learn something. Charles actually learned something and he's about to change the formation of CG Wealth Solutions because we're currently in the formation of an LLC, but he may be changing us to an S Corp for reasons. I won't get into the weeds of that. Um, but so let's see, where was I? I was at level, excuse me, increasing. So yeah, increasing premium is the annual renewable, and then you have convertible. And convertible again is at the end of your term, you can convert it to a whole policy without taking a medical exam. But like I said, there is that caveat that you can actually um, take a you can convert all of your term insurance. So again, even if it is on auto pay, this is what happens when I sit with a lot of clients. Oh yeah, I got a policy about 20 years ago with, let's just say, Primerica, and it's on auto pay, and it's sitting there, and it's like, okay, cool, but you don't know, how long you've had it, what the face amount is, or the term. And generally, it'll be a 20-year term, and at the end of that term, the price increases, and then the price increase it turns into annually renewable. So people think that it is the same as a convertible, which it is not. Bear with me. I'm going over to my laptop at the moment so that I can share the screen with you guys as well. Um, and like I said, please, please, please ask questions. I love to do this type of stuff. I love to hear myself talk. So I don't mind doing so. Any questions in the interim? No? All right.
Are you good?
All right, cool. Let's see. So where was I? Um, so now let's look at permanent, right? Because I think we've talked enough about, term. Well, no, I haven't even finished actually breaking down term because most term, okay, people think, and this people like me who speak against term. Um, well, what's going on, Misha Matt? Most people like me who speak against term um, will kind of do some weird. And the reason we speak against term is because you don't get anything back at the end of the term. However, we also don't mention, and it's only available in certain states and with certain carriers, is something called return of premium. So, what is return of premium? Well, that is a term policy in with which you get all your monies back from when you purchase the policy. Hold on one second, my mother calling.
All right, I'll go ahead and jump in there. All right, so trying to highlight red. Why does it keep doing this? Something wrong with my phone. Let me go over to this other phone. So basically, you say you're 23, and why would I get life insurance? Okay, so basically, you're 23. You're at an advantage right now. I've seen videos of you. You're in good health, young age. Not overweight. And to the degree, far as I can see, you're in good health condition. You know, let's say tomorrow you walk out, something might happen, and you have to go to the hospital. Seeing is believing. Day by day, we go through struggles, situations. You know, when I was getting my insurance, I was talking to a lady. She could have been blowing smoke, but she could have actually been telling the truth to the degree. When she was younger, she had a childhood illness strike her at probably middle school. And she said when she was younger, her mom got the little Gerber plans and life insurance and stuff like that, those little plans. And well, I say a type of plan like that. And all she did was added more to her policy. She upgraded the policy. And that was the biggest thing for her because they didn't know that she was going to have some type of illness as she grew up. You know, I have a cousin, she had open heart surgery at 10 years old. You know, before 10, they didn't know anything was wrong with her heart. So you technically, if you're not getting these constant health checkups, you'll never know what's going on with your body. And to the degree you can be in perfect health, and most of the time people just have a rare illness. I've seen plenty of times where I've seen a basketball player, you know, number one, going to D1 schools, draft, everything. All of a sudden he had an illness, and something was weak to his knees to where he had bad knees and his joints were messing up on him. He ended up opting out, couldn't even go to the NBA, and he was looking to be within the first or the second round drafting of the NBA. End up go ahead and just becoming a coach, and that was the only thing he could do. So my thing is, if you were just considering about life insurance, it's best to go ahead and pull the trigger and get it now. You know, Once again, Lonzo's here. He can talk to you, give you some advice about it. But the best thing is the way your options now versus later. Because, to a degree, you can always upgrade the policy if need be. But once you come up with an illness, because do know Alonzo's going to talk about this, anything that you have on your medical records, they take that in consideration when they're giving you the policies. So a lot of people might don't think about that. So when you say you fill out the application and say, "Well, I don't drink or smoke," but every time you go to your doctor, you're always telling them, "Yeah, I smoke, I drink." All that's in your medical records. But go ahead, Lonzo.
Yeah. So, um, there's lots of reasons that you would get life insurance at 23. Um, Funny things like you want to buy a house, right? Well, let me simply for the interest rate. And again, I like to under promise and over deliver. So let's imagine that the interest rate is 2% what I sell at, when it's actually 3% and it was 4% last year. But so it's growing at a 3% compound, or let's say 2% compound interest rate. Your highest yield money market account, which would be Marcus Millichap, aka Goldman Sachs, and you can get a money market account or a high yield interest savings account. Your highest yield account is going to be 0.5%, which is Marcus Millichap. You might find 0.51%. If you get lucky, you'll find 0.6%. What that means is if you put $100 in that Marcus Millichap account today, you have to wait till 1 year from today for that $100 to earn you 50 cents. On the flip side, with a life insurance policy that grows at a compound interest rate of a minimum of 2%, you start a life insurance policy with $100 today, you have to wait until 1 month from today for that $100 to earn you $2. So I ask you, would you prefer to earn 50 cents a year or $2 a month? That's one reason. We'll go into further reasons momentarily. So when you're looking at, again, term, and yes, I do play with IUL's Mortgage and Me. When you're looking at term, again, there's also something called return of premium. And again, it's only available in certain states, and it's only with certain carriers, even in certain states. And the cool thing about them is they're going to be a little more expensive than a regular term. But again, the regular term, at the end of the term, your only option is to renew or, reapply or just have no insurance. Whereas with a return of premium, the cool thing is it's a little more expensive, but you get all of your premiums back. So say it's $500 a year for, a $500,000 term. At the end of the 10 years of that $500 a year, you get that whole $5,000 back. Right? So that's another cool feature of a term insurance, which is, again, return of premium. So excuse me, I got gas today. That's anytime my wife comes around me, I still get butterflies in my stomach, so I end up with gas. That's why. She says it's not. I said yes, it's love gas because I still get butterflies in my stomach when you come around. Look at me being a softie. um. So let's see. Now let's talk about whole life, which is not actually just whole; it's permanent. And there's multiple types of permanent life insurance. Now we'll look at the one that most everybody is familiar with, which is whole life. Well, what is whole life, and really what is the major difference between that and term? Well, again, term is literally that it's going to run for its term, and there's nothing else involved with it. Whole life actually has a separate account that builds cash value along the side. So it's like a, if you will, a forced savings account or a separate savings account. That is, in addition to the premium that you're paying. Yes, it's the most expensive, but there's reasons why. And it generally, depending on the carrier and the state that you're in, is going to have features and benefits such as living benefits. Or, for example, like Sheed, you have policies with Lincoln Financial. So your index policy is a hybrid policy. So not only is it a life insurance, but it also has a long-term care associated with it. But when you're looking at permanent, and so that even adds more to it. So when you're looking at whole life, there's a multitude of them, right? So you have regular whole life, then you have final expense, which is also whole life. Final expense is the insurance that usually you see on the commercial with Alex Trebek, the Colonial Penn, $9.95 per unit. That gets deeper. I'll speak about that later. But that is also whole life insurance. You'll also have things that are like the Gerber Grow Up Plan, which are a blend. Those are called term to permanent. So things like the Gerber Grow Up Plan are kind of misleading. Why do I say that? Because what they do is they start with a term policy while your child is a child, and that's why when they turn age of majority, the face amount turns from 10,000 to 100,000, and it starts to build cash value. Before that, it's not building cash value; it's a term policy. Okay, so that's another type of whole life, however, because it does turn to a permanent policy. So we just discussed regular whole life. We discussed, well, I should say final expense, which is also called simplified or guaranteed issue. So guaranteed issue is the $9.95. And then simplified issue is something similar. Usually you don't have to take like a physical exam and so on. Then you have things like, again, with permanent, you're going to go into universal life. So universal life is a whole life policy that generally grows at a higher interest rate than a regular whole life policy. And it also has flexible premiums. So you can actually pour more money into the policy to increase the cash value. Has a few more bells and whistles. I try to equate life insurance to Mercedes-Benz's. So when somebody says, well, how much is a $100,000 face amount life insurance policy? I ask them, go to the Benz dealership and ask them, how much is a Mercedes-Benz? They will then say, well, are you looking at the A class, the C class, the E class, or the S class? The A class starts at $29,000. The C class starts at $45,000. The E class starts at $60,000. The S class starts at $97,000. However, they're all a Mercedes-Benz and they have the same star logo. Or would you like a C class? How about a CLK coupe? Do you want the G-Wagon? They're all Mercedes-Benzes. So when you get a $100,000 face amount policy, it varies differently. And I can definitely show you a little bit about that momentarily. So again, Now we're going to look at not just universal life, but they also have something called variable universal life. So variable universal life is a very risky product because it is all of your premium and your death benefit is at risk. It's all in the stock market, which is why they call it variable universal life. So that can be very, daunting, especially because, 1 minute you can have a big life insurance policy and feel comfortable. You're going to leave your wife and kids something if something happens to you. And then the next minute the market crashes and your policy is down to zero. That can be very daunting. And then you have what I like to call, which is the S class, which is an IUL or an index universal life. And that is basically the same thing as a UL with a little more bells and whistles. It's usually attached to an index. For example, the S&P 500, most are going to attach to the S&P 500. However, and Sheed, you might like this. I see you have an affinity for Lincoln. They recently partnered with Fidelity to have a index created specifically for them for a new index universal life insurance that they're planning on rolling out within the next, I guess, quarter or so. We'll see whenever they start pushing it to us to start selling. So those are your different types of permanent. And then, there's different bells and whistles that are associated, with each one. Give me a second. I want to share a screen because there's a whole host of reasons, again, why you may want to get life insurance if you're any age. So whenever you're ready, you can share my screen if you wouldn't mind. All right. Can y'all see this? You can see this okay? So this here is called a buy-sell agreement, right? So a buy-sell agreement is actually how you're going to fund a business exit and valuation, because you need to evaluate your business. If you're going to try and get investors, right, you got to see how much your business is worth. Or if you're even trying to put a business plan together and get a business, you should probably have a valuation to figure out how much your business is worth, or how much revenue you're going to bring to yourself, because you're not going into business just to be in business, so that your business makes money and your employees make money, but you're going into business ultimately to make a living for yourself. So you'll want to do things like, if you'll notice in this template that I would use with clientele, right, you have a little bit of the business info. You have the type of business it is, right? Sole prop, S corp, partnership, LLC, a professional corporation or a corporation, the products and services you provide. But you notice here it says owner information, age, ownership. So if you're interested in owning a business at 23, you should be interested in ensuring and protecting the legacy you're looking to build. But there's other reasons, and no, I'm not. I hope it doesn't feel like I'm picking on you. But a lot of young people ask this question, right? So then it says here, existing insurance coverage, right? And then it actually asks the purpose of your insurance, because a lot of times you're just advertised a death benefit check, which is exactly why you're asking, well, why at 23 would I want to buy life insurance? I didn't say death insurance, just like nobody says go buy car accident insurance, but that's all car insurance is. It's for if you get into an accident, even when you have what you think is full coverage, which is just comprehensive and collision, so it pays back the bank that owns the car, not you. That's what ends up happening. So it also says, well, I want to know, I know who will continue to operate my business in the event that I die or become disabled. So one of the purposes that you have life insurance may be business continuation or business exit strategy. My income is protected in the event that I am sick or hurt and cannot work. So you may have a disability insurance or a life insurance that if you're injured, for example, with a life insurance policy, you have something called living benefits. So living benefits will take care if you're sick or injured. Let's say you get a terminal illness, a critical illness, or a chronic illness. So a terminal illness would be something that would say the doctors would say you have 12 months or less to live. A critical illness would be something that would you couldn't perform two what they call activities of daily living. So that would be like going to the bathroom by yourself, or feeding yourself, or bathing yourself. If you couldn't do two of those things, then you could actually access up to 50% of your face amount tax-free. If you have the terminal illness, it's up to 75% of your face amount tax-free. So if you got $100,000 policy and they tell you got 12 months or less to live, you could get $75,000 cash out of your life insurance policy, even though you haven't paid into it $75,000, right? If they say you have a chronic illness, right, and you can't do those activities of daily living, right, you could get 50 grand cash just for that. Let's say you have a critical illness, you could get 25%, or in this case, 25 grand cash for having kidney failure, right, dialysis, which could be short term. Now again, these aren't ideal situations, but these things happen. I'm 37. I got a homeboy who, 4 years ago now, he actually, and I'm so, upset about it, he actually got real sick. He ended up on dialysis, and because he got on dialysis, he divorced his wife, which is my homegirl. And, it was sad to see, because he felt that he was a burden on her. He was there for her, and, she just didn't he didn't feel like he was a burden on her, so he left. So the next thing it says is let me check what you got going on in the comments and all that. Yes, you can get a life insurance on a child as soon as 15 days old, right? So let's see here. You want to make sure maybe my estate has sufficient liquid assets to protect the value of my business at death, right? You want to make sure that income to my family is assured in the event of my death, right? I want to know the financial impact on my business if a key employee terminates employment or dies, right? But if they terminate employment, so if they up and quit on you, right, there's insurance for that. And a life insurance policy, actually, there's something called COLI, corporate-owned life insurance, which also happens. I'm currently working with an attorney or a CPA regarding my business continuation plan. Maybe you want to use business dollars to satisfy your personal security needs. Maybe at 23, you want to use your life insurance as a tax shelter, right? So then we're going to look at, your financial and your benefit information, right? This is, you have assets less than 100 grand, or do you have assets more than 5 million, right? We're going to look at your annual earnings. Your current business life insurance, is it less than 50 grand, or is it more than 500,000? And then we're going to find out the reasons purchased. It might be a key employee policy. It might be a COLI policy, right? So your business planning priorities, right? And I'm not reading all of them, but again, selective benefit plans that can be used to attract and retain key employees, right? Because one of those things you might want is a quality insurance plan to retain great employees. I'm going to stop this screen and share another one. Give me 1 second, Chief.
Okay, no problem.
And any questions before I keep going?
No, I mean, because I want to get into the go ahead with the universal life, in which mortgage with me was talking about. Getting people hooked on that.
No problem. I can dig it.
Yeah, because like I say, the biggest thing is everybody wants to talk about financial wealth, but you got to be contributing to your wealth to actually get involved in it. You got to be in it to win it, like they say.
That's true. So you can share my screen.
All right.
So this is my back office, as As you can see, I'm logging in here. All right. And let's do this. We're going to go straight to the illustration software. Let's go. I think I created one around here. Yeah, I did one for Lash's journey. All right, so I can modify this. And we'll just modify the client here. So he said it's 23, right? So we were born, what, 1997? No, 99?
23 is my daughter, so that's 98.
I did it for 99.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to call this guy John Journey, who's 23 years of age. Now, the first thing I'm going to start with is a term policy, because that's what a lot of people talk about in terms of buying term first, right? So you may want to buy a term. Now, we're going to look at this, how much it costs a month. And we're going to go to a term, value plus term. And we're going to show you $1 million term. Print to age 33 because you're 23, right? So how much is $1 million term for you right now? And this is a 10-year term, right? Now, remember, I said all things aren't created equal. So real quick, I just want to show you 10-year term. All right, so it's going to be $47 a month, but that's $1 million worth of life insurance. Now, remember, I told you after the end of the term, it becomes renewable, but the premium starts to get more expensive. So now it's $39.10 a year, whereas here initially it was only $550 a year for $1 million face amount. So from 23 to 33, that's not bad. But here's the flaw in that, especially for younger people, when you're talking about especially concepts like buy term, invest the rest. Because at 23, what they're telling you is you're basically wasting money here, because if you don't die by 32, then you just threw $550 or $5,500 out the window, because nobody gets anything because it's just a term policy, right? Now, let's take another look here, because we're going to go to we're going to go to class, right? So right here at class, I just put non-tobacco. So this is a 23-year-old who doesn't smoke cigarettes. Now, I want to just go to tobacco, right? So everything else there is the same, except for he smokes tobacco. Just to show you a real quick principle, to show you that all things aren't equal. And this even matters when you're asking, well, how much is $100,000 worth of life insurance? Now, again, this is exactly the same. It's a $1 million life policy for the same John Journey, age 23. The only thing that I changed was, instead of him not smoking, now he uses tobacco. He smokes cigarettes. You see, the price went from $550 a year to $1,280 a year, or $1,111.06 a month, right? So the premium got increased simply for the fact that he uses tobacco. So right there, all things aren't created equal, right? And this is just on term insurance. Now, we're going to go back to the class, right? Because again, when you get and usually these are going to be the ones that you get advertised on TV, which is the perfect health, right? And everything like that. So again, we're only doing the 10-year term right now. We're going to preview this, right? So again, age 23, everything else is the same. Now, I changed his health from regular to preferred plus. So remember, this is the health of Superman now, right? So this one is standard health, non-tobacco, just a regular guy, right? Your average, everyday, run-of-the-mill person. This one is, let me make sure I got it at the same size here so you can see it. So this is, okay, $1 million, age 23, non-tobacco for John Journey. $47.70 for $1 million face amount. Age 23, John Journey, tobacco user, $111.06 a month. Age 23 for John Journey, $1 million face amount. The only difference here is he's in tip-top health, $25.13 a month, or $290 a year. Less than half of what a regular health person, and less than a third of what somebody who uses tobacco. So again, you can't just come up to somebody and say, hey, how much is life insurance? They don't know anything about you. So there's no way they can actually tell you that. Right? Now, I'm going to go back to standard here. I'm going to close these three. And now we're going to look at different levels of term. Let's look at the difference between a level 10 term and a level 30 term. Let's take a preview here. Okay. So again, nothing has changed with this gentleman. He's still the same 23-year-old John Journey, who's a regular health guy. Okay. But the 10-year term, it's only $550 a year for $1 million face amount. But the 30-year term, it's $1,270 a year. But the 30-year term, he's paying it for much longer. He's going to be paying it for 30 years. So why is it more expensive up front? Well, because it's cheaper in the long run, right? So let's say after 10 years goes by, now from 23, now you're 32, turning 33, you got a little more responsibility, so you want to keep that $1 million of coverage on your head. Well, now for year 33, it's going to be $2,930 for that year, but year 34 is going to be $3,400 for that year. And then the next year when you're 35, it's $3,910. And then the next year when you're 36 is $4,500. Whereas here on the 30-year term, it's the remaining same. So over the course of that 20 years, you paid $56,470 because you wanted to think about it and just do it for the short term of the first 10 years. Then that second 10 years, that 20 years of that 30-year term, you decided, you know what, I want to keep it for another 10 years. You ended up paying $56,000 because you didn't think up front for the long term and getting the 30-year term. So over the course of the 20 years on the 30-year term, you paid half of the amount. You only paid $25,400. Now let's look at the total of the 30 years. So for the 30-year term, because after 30 years, you're 42. Now you got a wife and kids and a house and a mortgage. You're like, you know what? I don't want to take another health exam, but I got this $1 million of coverage. You know what? I'm gonna just keep it. Well, at the end of that 30th year, you spent $145,220 on $1 million worth of death benefit. Whereas if you just bought the 30-year term up front, you spent almost $100,000 less. You spent $38,100 over the course of 30 years. And again, this is just term insurance. Any comments? Let me check the comments here. Now we good. Okay. Sheet, if you want, you can always do me a favor and bust them with the comments if need be, because I can't really see the screen.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm monitoring the screen and everything, but go ahead, because basically this is the things that I want to talk about. When people want to say they want to wait and get life insurance, and like we was talking about earlier, you can lie to the advisor, but your medical records are not lying about all this stuff.
Man.
Yeah, so this is a big thing right here, and knowing your rate to the point where why wait to get insurance when you can get it now and get it at a cheaper rate? If anything, like you say, you can always go and up the policy. You might pay a little more, but to the degree you're already covered. And see, that's the thing with a lot of people who come up with those illness, later in life.
Mm-hmm.
You're already insured, so the only thing they can do is insure you. They're going to charge you a little more, but it's a better rate since you already have a policy versus not having one at all, when they can just go sky's the limit with the premium per month.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact, actually. So now I want to look at regular whole life. Right? And again, this is for a 23-year-old. Give me 1 second there. And we're going to do the $1 million policy. Right? Give me 1 second. I gotta go grab some water. I'll be right back.
Go ahead, I'll hold it down. All right. So basically, like, we're talking about this, getting the policy earlier so you won't have to, worry about any complications later on in life. And, to the degree you're covered. Like I said, knowing your rates, by sitting there figuring it out, getting policies, knowing based on where you stand, where do you have to pay more because maybe you smoke, maybe you drink, excuse me. And to the degree, you have to figure things out. What is your best options? When trying to get these policies, figuring out, do can you get a better rate with a different company? Asking questions to your advisor, what is going to be my best option? Do you think I should get the 30-year or do you think I should get the 10-year? Well, the 10-year is a little cheaper, but over time, am I going to save? Or is it going to be beneficial? See, that's the thing. Everybody wants, stay cost efficient, and there's nothing wrong with that. But looking at long term, what is going to be your best option? Because typically, the older you get, the more you make, you know, and most people tend to, forget that when, getting into a policy, you can always upgrade the policy, but getting something in that's fair, decent, and work with you in your pockets, that's what you talk to your advisor about.
Exactly. Now, $1 million policy for somebody who's 23. People always say things like, that's crazy. This, that, and the third. Listen, I know dudes who are 23 who driving Lexuses, and not like used ones, but like a 2017. It's only 2022. So when you add up that and car insurance, they paying over $1,000 a month, right? To look nice. And a Lexus or a Mercedes or an Infinity. You know what I mean? So when I look at them saying, well, $1 million of life insurance, that's crazy. So let's look at what $1 million policy that's just a regular whole life policy would look like. And this is just getting the policy. Again, you also want to see what your advisor specializes in. For example, with life insurance, I specialize in alternative concepts. So I'm going to know more than most agents do when manipulating a policy to do certain things, right? But remember, I told you, whole life insurance is about building up your cash value. So this one is $828 a month. Now, over the course of 10 years, he's paid out of his pocket $99,389, but he has cash value or money to borrow against of $86,000, right? So if I pull up my calculator, right, this is 23 to 33. And here's how I generally beat a lot of those arguments, because people will be like, well, why do I want to wait so long? The exact same reason you're holding on to dear life with your crypto, because you have no exit plan with your crypto. You don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or 10 years. That's why you're holding on for dear life. This at least is giving you a guaranteed exit strategy, and it literally shows you what point in time and where your money will be. So if we do a calculation, 99,389 minus 86,279, right? So technically, he actually only paid $13,110 for $1 million worth of death benefit protection. But you'll also see here, remember I was talking about participating policies? So this policy pays an annual dividend, okay? That's what participating means. And as we know, we all like dividends. I actually need to drop the video today that PIMCO, the largest mutual fund in the world, released a dividend that's scheduled for February 11th or the beginning of March. That dividend is 4 cents. bringing their annual total to a total of 48 cents year to date. So when we're talking about dividends in these large financial companies, we're not talking about huge numbers. Now, PIMCO, the stock does not trade high. PIMCO is about $11 a share. So it's not a high stock, but it is the largest mutual fund in the world with a couple $1 trillion in assets under management. So they're a really safe bet, which is why they don't go way too expensive. It's not a ton of volatility in the mutual fund. But if there's just 48 cents a year, here you're getting $100 dividend, $100, $100, and then it goes up 281, 947. This is in black and white, and this is actually like an amortization schedule. Mortgage by Eve, I'm sure you're familiar with amortization schedule. So a life insurance illustration is literally the same thing as an amortization schedule. Again, it's probably never been explained to you like that because a lot of agents aren't specialists. So they don't, excuse me, I'm snacking on popcorn while I'm doing this. So a lot of agents aren't aware of how to even manipulate or to explain the financial instruments. So now, when you're looking at investment, your time horizon is usually 20 years. You can Google that. Warren Buffett will say the average time horizon on an investment is 20 years. And the average rate of return over that 20 years is 10%. Now, you paid out of your pocket over the course of 20 years. So from 23 to 43, because you're looking at the future. You got this $1 million death benefit. So if something happens, your family gets $1 million. Cool. But here's the other ill thing. So this is year 20. So you paid $1.98, $7.78 out of your pocket. But your cash value is $268,267. Plus your death benefit is $1.153 million. But you only bought $1 million worth of death benefit. So if I do some math here, right? 198,778 minus, what is that? 228,267. So that's negative $29,489. So you paid negative $29,489 to make sure that, well, basically that means that you kind of invested and got a $30,000 return. And this is not a return that's speculative and that you have to hope that you time the market right and that you sell at the perfect time when it's at its absolute high or at its lowest of its high, or, today or tomorrow. This is, okay, so I know that by this particular, age 43, by the end of the year, I'll have gained $30,000. Well, $29,489. Now, yes, out of my pocket, I put this out. But what do you think you're going to do if you're really going to get any gains from investing, right? Even the guys who are like, I'm up $58 bazillion in my crypto. They didn't invest with less than like 10, 15 grand. Nobody put like $500 into an investment and then, it suddenly ballooned. Unless they're pumping and dumping. Right? So now, with you might not think it at 23, but life goes fast and you'll be at 53 before you know it. Now, at the end of, 30 years, since we're comparing this to the 30-year term, you pumped out of your pocket almost 300 grand. $298,166. However, should you decide to borrow against your policy, you'll have the ability to borrow against $436,128. Let's do some math. 298, 166 minus 436. 1 second here. Uh, 436, 128. So you paid into this policy negative $137,962. Well, how did you pay into something negative dollars? That means that you were being paid for having $1 million worth of life insurance. Oh, by the way, if at 53 you should suddenly croak, your family will get $1.3 million. Right? But again, none of this is about you dying. This is about you living. So it's a compensatory savings account. Right? Now, again, this is just standard health. I'm not going to quote, substandard health or anything like that. Okay? And what you say? I printed my amortization schedule. Yeah. So, life insurance illustration. This is only with cash value policies, but they are amortization schedules. So maybe that will help you a little bit. And like I said, when you get in touch with me and come join Death Row, I'll train you a little further about how to cross-sell. I'm also a licensed realtor in the state of New York. And yes, I was with Rebney, or the Real Estate Board of New York. $1 million listing status. But let's look at something else. Because also, people like term policies, because with whole life insurance, you have to pay it for, the rest of your life. And it gets very annoying to have a payment that's, in perpetuity. Right? Since it's an amortization schedule, shouldn't it tell me when my payments stop? Well, let's look at that. So with that, we have something here, which is called a 10-pay. So this is a whole life. And each company is going to be a different type of policy. For example, State Farm has a 20-pay. Here at Emeritus, we do a 10-pay. Mass Mutual has, I believe they have a 10-pay. No, that's New York Life has a 10-pay. A lot of companies generally do a 20-pay. So a lot of people will get term life insurance because they don't want to just be paying and paying and paying and paying for forever and ever and ever. So this is a whole life policy, but he's only going to pay it for 10 years. Right? It still has the same benefits as that regular whole life policy, but it's going to cost them a substantial amount more. Right? So this one, his initial monthly premium is $4,016.54. Now, again, it may not be, totally feasible to be paying $5,000 a month at 23, but if you got it, you got it. And especially with all this crypto trading and forex trading that we're doing, having Lambos and Ferraris and Miami villas, we should be able to afford $5,000 a month. There's enough people I see online who say they make $10,000 a month sitting at home, and for you to come join their $3,500 class, and they don't even know what an amortization schedule is. So get this game for $3.99 right now. Why, you can. Right? But it's going to be substantially more, obviously. It's almost $50,000 a year. But you're only paying it for 10 years. At the end of that 10 years, you've paid $481,985. Now, at the end of that 10 years, no, you don't break even or even win, except for the fact that you beat the rate of inflation, because if you put that money away in one of those money market accounts for that same 10 years, you'd have lost half your money due to inflation. Okay? No doubt. So, at the end of 10, he paid out his pocket $481, but he has cash value of $446. So if we do a little math, 481, 985, right, minus 446, 780. So he really only paid $35,000 over the course of 10 years for $1.13 million worth of a death benefit if he dies, but also to retain his $446,000 worth of buying power. Now, as you move on, let's take a look. All right, 481,985 minus. Let's go. So now let's look at year 20. Because as you see here, there's a bunch of zeros from years 11 through 20. Because he's paid everything up front in the first 10 years. So he still only paid the 481,985, but now in year 20, he's 43 years old. This is where life starts for most men. Right? So 481,985. Right? And what's his cash value here? 774 minus 774,089. So if we do the math there, he's paid negative $292,104, or over the course of 20 years, he had a guaranteed damn near $300,000 come up. Again, just like an amortization schedule, when you have a mortgage or a car that you're having a loan on, and it shows your payment here and your interest here, and this is your principal pay down, this is exactly what this is. Okay? So, Eve, if you've ever had difficulty looking at a life insurance illustration while you were illustrating it for clientele, hopefully this made it a little easier for you. I'll go grab me something else to snack on while I'm doing this because my mouth is getting dry. Let me just go grab a bag of chips. I'll be right back again.
All right. And like I say, to the degree, weighing your options, that's always the key. You know, understanding what you're paying, what you're getting yourself into, and typically understanding that, inflation. You get your policy now. Most people want to, underfund. They'll get a 20,000, 5,000 just for burial. But that's the thing. If we're always talking about generational wealth, we're talking about taking things to the next stage. $5,000 won't do. 5,000 is not even enough for a funeral nowadays. I had to bury my uncle. I think it was about close to 5 years ago, and far as with his life insurance policy, he basically hit the nail on the head, just enough to get buried, just enough to cover the repast and arrangements. And luckily, he was in the military, where they gave him a free tombstone and a free burial plot at a military cemetery. Other than that, that was another $1,200 right there. So, like I say, when people get life insurance, weigh your options. Due to inflation, I mean, even if you want to get buried and leave your kids something, 10,000, 20,000 is not enough. Let's say even with your house is not even paid off. To an extent, most people never pay their house off. And then let's say you do pay your house off, and your house, you got Big Mom's house. If it's not put in a trust or anything, well, we're gonna talk about that later. And that's the biggest thing. Leaving something for your family members is key. That's the whole reason for getting life insurance. In my opinion, because why would I want to get a $50,000 policy and I'm not leaving my wife, barely anything? Like I said, as of right now, I got over $500,000 in policy. My kids get money, my wife gets some money, because I already know fact, just talking to Alonzo, like I said, I know I'm gonna have to get more policy, but just grief be shown. If anything happened to me, that's gonna be devastating for my wife. She probably don't want to go to work. She probably don't even want to go back to work. With that money, she can, be comfortable with staying out for a year, or maybe even taking the money and investing it and doing it right, to where she won't have to go back to work ever again. And see, that's the leverage I'm giving her, a leg up versus, the rest, because to be honest, when most men die, If they don't have a policy or they have a policy, it's underfunded to enough to where she can take a week off, but she got to get back to work. She got to get her another man to help pay the bills. And the life insurance, that's the key thing to give you a peace of mind.
Yes, you definitely hit the nail on the head with that one. And you know, like you said, it can be devastating. I know people who have lost family, years ago, and 10 years ago, and they still reeling over the loss of their family member, right? And this money doesn't bring your family member back. But in terms of the fact that they lost this family member, what will they do? They'll, look, I'm gonna have a party every year in honor of my cousin Junebug. So, he was born, the 10th of June. So every 10th of June we have a cookout for in honor of Junebug. Well, you don't think Junebug would have wanted to be a part of that? What if Junebug, when he died, left you, you know, $200,000? So for every year for 10 years, you could spend $20,000 on his party, right? Because especially with Black folks, what we always say: when I die, don't cry, celebrate. Right? Celebrate my life. Well, what better way than to leave somebody with a gift to celebrate your life? See, we got to start thinking about these things outside of the box. A lot of people will say, well, I'm young, like the gentleman. I'm 23 and I have no kids and I got no wife. Why do I need life insurance? You got other people who care about you, right? You got friends, you got other family members, you got people you went to school with, people you work with, who, if you died, they'd want to come to your funeral and pay you respect. But again, if you ain't got if your family doesn't have the money to pay for your funeral, your body will sit in that morgue until you can pay them something, or you work out a payment arrangement with the funeral home, right? But and some people will go into debt for that funeral. But again, since we were looking at 30 years with the term policy, I want to look at 30 years with the life policy. So again, at the end of 30 years, you're 53 years old now. And this is why you want to get life insurance when you're younger. Because at 53, ask any guy who's 53 right now, hey man, over the past 30 years, with some of the stuff you've spent money on, would you wish somebody would have told you this, so that from 23 to 33, you somehow found a way, first of all, to put away $500,000, which is an amazing feat in itself. But then, and that's only 50 grand a year for 10 years. And then 20 years later, again, you only spent $41,985. 481,985 minus, what do we have there in cash value? 1.25 million. 1,259,939. So you spent negative $1.211,744, or $1,211,744, right? So that means you got paid $1.2 million to make sure that if you died anywhere along that line, your family will get $1 million or more worth of cash. But since you didn't die, let's say you've already got a kid right now, you get married in the next few years, you bought a house, you didn't die, you got some other good investments and stuff going on, you bought real estate, you got a boatload of money to retire on, right? So you don't need the life insurance at 53 anymore. Great. So you can then what's called surrender the policy, and you get all your cash value. So all that cash that you just sat away, right? 20, 30 years ago, you sat away $500,000 and you just sat on it. And now it's more than doubled. It's $1.25 million, right? Of liquid cash that can come to you for putting away $400,000 20 years ago. Again, pull up an amortization schedule, right? Or you can pull up an index and show me any equity or index fund that's going to guarantee you in black and white on paper, because first they're going to have to give you a prospectus, but that's going to guarantee you this kind of a rate of return, right? To more than double your money over the course of 20 years. They're not going to promise you to double your money at any point. They'll tell you speculatively, and they'll show you how it performed in the past, but past performance does not dictate future results. They'll also have that in the prospectus. Okay? So, that's, again, a regular whole life, but only paying for 10 years. So now, let's look at what you like, which is the, well, no, before we go there, let's look at the regular UL. Okay. So this actually has a lower interest rate than an index UL, but this grows at a 3.6% monthly compound interest rate. Higher than regular life insurance. Regular life insurance currently grows at 3% for most carriers. $1 million face amount, universal life, meaning a flexible premium, and again, you had a higher interest rate. Okay. So now the difference here is there are bells and whistles, and this is set up just to fund the life policy. So this is what's called percent of target. This is basically just so that he has a death benefit. This is what gets sold to you by a lot of people who are like, don't get cash value life insurance, is garbage. Because they either don't know how to manipulate the software or they've learned how to manipulate it to make it non-attractive. Right? For example, this one, you paid into the policy $34,700 over the course of 10 years. And then your surrender value is only $12,000, and your account value, which is what you have to borrow against, is only $22,000. And even over the course of 20 years, it's not that attractive. And even over the course of 30 years, you just start to break even over the course of 30 years. Now, you also want to change different things because there's different ways that you can actually have the premium set up. So let's set the premium for right now. We have it at percentage of target, which again, this is like buying a Mercedes-Benz, but now we're getting into aftermarket. Excuse me. Now we're getting into aftermarket. So now we're getting into the AMG packages, the car shields, right? The mud flaps, all that stuff. The special windshield wipers, right? So let's put, instead of just putting in the premium at percent of target, let's do what I like to do, which is a minimum non-met. So now you're not buying a death benefit. You're buying the least amount of life insurance for the most amount of money because you want to fund the cash value more. Right? Now, if you notice the one before this one, he has no cash value for several years, right? For the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, until year 7, he doesn't have any cash value accumulated. Cash surrender value. This one, by year 3, he has cash value accumulated, right? So it's also not just the policy you get, but the way that the policy is set up, which is why it's very important that when you're having that discussion with your advisor, to make sure that you're fully transparent and you ask questions, and you also want to help them direct you towards what it is, because other than that, we're not mind readers. So, if you say, look, I just want to leave my family a little bit of money, all right, I'm going to give you a $10 million policy because I think a little bit of money is $10 million, and I think that's what you should leave your family. Here we go, sign here. Or when you actually have that conversation with your advisor, take the 20, 30, 45 minutes, however long it takes to actually uncover some things. All right? Where was I here? Okay. So now you want to look at other things like we're going to go back to the percentage to target, but we're going to go with a different type of death benefit. And again, this is just the regular universal. This isn't the S-class of Benzes yet. And that's because it has a lesser interest rate. Right? So again, this one has an increasing death benefit, but again, the cash value doesn't happen until about year 7. So let's switch that again from percentage of target. We're going to overfund the policy now. And if you'll notice here in year 1, there's cash surrender value. Right? So year 1, he's got a net account value of $20,000, and if he cancels the policy, he still gets $5,500 back. But he only paid into it $23,000, and he could borrow against $20,000. So let's look. Over the course of 10 years, he paid into it $234,000. If he cancels it, he earned himself an extra $1,000. He has $245,000 of with which to borrow against. Let's look at the 20-year time horizon. Over 20 years, he's paid out of his pocket $469,000, but if he cancels the policy, he'll get a check of $602,000. Now, again, let's look at the 30-year time horizon. 30 years, he's paid out of his pocket $703,000. But if he cancels, or what I call cashes out, he gets back $1.1 million. Nowhere in here, sir, did I mention anything about dying with this life insurance policy. All I mentioned was putting money somewhere, allowing it to grow tax-free, and then taking it out at a later date. Right? And you have none of the risks of the stock market. But let's say you want some of the volatility of the stock market. Now we're going to get into indexed universal life because maybe you want. I'm not going to go into variable. We could go into variable too. But like I said, variable is. I don't like variable life, so we're not going to do it. Because you can beat variable with index universal. If you're going to do an investment, do an investment. If you're going to do insurance, you can manipulate it like an investment, but you want to make sure that you remain in a fixed product so that all the risk is on the insurance company. You see, with a variable insurance or a variable annuity, you transfer the risk to yourself from the insurance company because the premiums that you pay in are at risk to the stock market. Well, that's foolish when you have an insurance company that has billions of dollars that's willing to put you in a fixed product that, while it might not be as great of an upside in terms of the rates of return, there's zero downside, right? And you want safety and security. If you want volatility, go directly to the market. But let's go ahead and we're going to look at, again, indexed universal life. Right? So again, first we're going to start with the percentage of target, which is just regular every day just to have a life insurance policy. And there's 2 ways that insurance agents who speak against, or financial advisors actually, who speak against cash value life insurance, because they prefer you to go into their money managed product so they can get a higher commission, and there's less volatility because there's less likelihood that you won't qualify, because there's more likelihood that you're going to get a no exam needed life insurance policy, meaning that they're going to just issue it. You're not going to have any questions, comments, or concerns. Here's that illness thing I was telling you about: the terminal, the chronic, and the critical illness. So again, terminal you get 75%, chronic you get 50%, and critical you get 25% of the death benefit. And then here's actually a further explanation. Again, terminal illness, the presence of an illness or condition where life expectancy does not exceed 12 months. Chronic illness, inability to perform at least 2 activities of daily living for 90 days, or at least the presence of severe cognitive impairment. So if you can't dress, eat, bathe, toilet, transfer, you're pooping yourself. And then critical illness, like I said, life-threatening cancer, stroke, major heart attack, end-stage renal failure, major organ transplant, ALS, blindness due to diabetes, paralysis of 2 or more limbs, major burns if you go into a coma, anaplastic anemia, a brain tumor, an aneurysm, heart valve replacement, or coronary artery bypass graft surgery. Okay. This is the impact of living benefits. Now they actually tell stories in the illustrations. You got your lifetime income riders. But again, this grows at a higher percentage rate. So if you'll look here, this grows at a 6% monthly compound interest rate, as opposed to, like I said, the 3.9% of the other. So this one is basically you got $100 a month in it. You're gonna get $6 a month off of it instead of 50 cents a year. So again, this one is $5,900 a year. Over the course of 10 years, you paid out of your pocket $59K. At the end of that, you have $37K to borrow against and $35K, which if you surrender or cash out. At the end of 20 years, you paid out of your pocket $1.18, and you've got $1.36 to borrow against or $1.36 with which to withdraw or cash out. Over the course of 30 years, because again, we're looking at everything in 30-year time frame, so you're 53, you paid out of your pocket $1.77, but it's turned into $3.15. So if I do math there, right? Minus 315,424. So you paid negative $138,423. And again, this literally, when you apply and it gets issued, this becomes part of your contract. So what does that mean? Well, because insurance is a contract, unlike stocks, though they are an agreement, they're not a binding contract, because the price of whatever particular security instrument you purchase, whether that be a mutual fund, an ETF, or plain old common stock or corporate stock, it cannot remain the same and will not remain the same. And there's no way that they can guarantee or assure you unequivocally that at X date you will have X price. No matter if even you're doing stock options and you set, your strike price and all that good stuff, or your stop loss and all that good stuff, all that's doing is stopping you from losing, a certain amount that you don't want to lose. But it doesn't protect you from loss at all. This protects you from loss 100% because it shows you its absolute guarantees, right? So now a lot of people, including agents who don't know, get confused with these 3 columns, especially if you're doing an index universal, because a regular whole life doesn't have multiple columns. So to see, hold on, let me check comments here.
Yeah, you're still good on the comments.
All right, cool. I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask.
Yeah, I got you.
So, where was I? Is this it? All right, so again, let's take a look. Now we're going to change this from just a regular type of policy to, again, overfunding it. Because what you want to do, like, let's say you want to buy a house, young buck. Well, you're going to be saving money in a money market account that's going to get you 50 cents a year. Or you could put your money in something like this, which is much easier to liquidate. And you can go to that mortgage loan originator and say, hey, I got a cash value life insurance policy that I can use as collateral, instead of trying to bust your ass, work hard, and save up $20,000 as a 20% down payment for a $100,000 house. I'm not being a smart ass or a hard ass or trying to pick on you, but I have to say it like this so that the point hits home, because nobody else is going to teach you this.
Can I break something in real quick? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I heard about. I was looking at some YouTube videos and a couple of documentaries, and they were saying that that's the way that most of the rich are actually buying houses, because if you look at $1 million, and some of these houses are $10 million, nobody's putting it. You can be the richest person. Why would you put 20% down on a $10 million house? I think it was I was just looking at an article about what's the guy that retired, the GOAT in football.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, Brady. Brady put down on a $17 million house in Florida. He left his house in Cali, the house up north in New England, because of the taxes and everything in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And at $17 million. I mean, you can go ahead if you got the money, just throw 17 million out there, or you can just, pay monthly, or if you have to finance it, you're not putting down 20%. You can't go FHA on that type of loan right there.
No.
So, you use your assets to benefit you and everything, and you end up just only putting down 3%. Most people I know, I was looking at articles, they said people who typically buy houses up in New York are putting down, anywhere from 3 to 5% on a house. $1 million, hundreds of $1,000 house. I say like 700,000 or 800,000. They only put in 3 to 5%. Sometimes instead of just putting the actual 20%, most people don't have, actually 20% down on a house like that. That's 200,000. Who's running around with $200,000, to put in on $1 million home?
Well, most people are turning in their 401ks and stuff, and that's how they're doing it. But another way is to actually plan for the future, and at 23, get some game like this and start putting money away, because you're gonna have to save up money for that down payment on that house anyway. Even when people are like, "Oh, you can flip," I'll show you how to, flip a house for less than $2,000 with no money down. Listen, it's not that easy. There are holding costs and a whole bunch of other things. Actually, the guy you had on who does real estate was talking about that.
Yeah, Ramon Williams. Yep.
Yeah. So now this one, we set up a little different. I set it up to be cash rich. So for example, this one, the same $1 million policy, same guy. Everything else is the same, except this one is only $491 a month. And again, this is building that cash value. But you see here, he don't build no cash until year 4. Now, if we look at this one, right, it's almost double the price for the same $1 million death benefit, right? And everything else is the same with the guy. But you'll see year 2, you've already got cash value, right? You'll see here, year 10, he paid out of his pocket $112, but he's got $107 to borrow against, so basically only paid $5,000. And if he cancels, they give him back $105,000. So basically, he only paid $7,000 or $700 a year over the course of the last 10 years. So that's basically only $200 a year more than the 10-year term. Now, when you look at it in perspective and things like that, and you notice that while you're paying that, because with that 10-year term, even with return to premium, maybe you'll get that back. But now let's look at 20 years. So 20 years, he paid out of his pocket $225,000, but he's got $341,000 if he cashes out or to borrow against. And again, we're looking at the 30-year time horizon. $338,897 is what he paid out of pocket, but he's got $779 to borrow against, or $779 if he cashes out. Right? So let's do math. 338,897 minus 779, 134. So he paid negative $440,000 to make sure that, God forbid, something happens to him, his family would get $1.3 million, even though he only originally paid for and bought $1 million worth of a death benefit. So if along the way he dies, his family gets money, but he's not buying this for the purpose of dying, right? He's buying this because he knows he wants to buy a house in, let's say, 10 years, and he knows he has to have some cash available, to that's liquid to get him there. Well, if you put it in a regular bank account or even one of those money market accounts, you're going to lose the power because of inflation. So if you put it in those bank accounts and you're earning 0.5% APR, it doesn't keep up with inflation. When inflation as of today is about 7%. So this damn near doesn't keep up with inflation. And this is a guaranteed 6%. Right? So now let's manipulate it one more time. Let's make it even more cash rich. Right? So now, for that $1 million policy, right, he's going to pay $3,132 a month. And these are some of the indices that you can actually attach to. If you'll see here. See, it says the index options available with this policy. So most people are familiar with the S&P 500. There's also the Russell 2000. So this is about asset allocation. So this is where your advisor needs to know where to allocate your assets. Generally, we put you in the S&P point to point, which if you'll notice here, its current cap rate is 6%, right? We're not going to put you there, though, because that's the small cap. We want you with the 1 year. So we're going to put you here in the, where is it? Where you get, no, actually, we are going to put you here with the 1 year cap to cap at 6%. This is a short term, even though it's 9.5%. And that's basically your cap rate, right? So your cap rate is where basically a index universal is all of the upside of the stock market, none of the downside. So your cap rate means that when the stock market goes up or the S&P 500 goes up to a certain point, if it goes above 9.5%, you're capped at 9.5%. We generally keep you here at 6%, which would be a biannual cap rate. So you can actually technically go higher than 6% if it goes higher than that biannually. Then you can also have it allocated to the BMP or the MSCI. I skipped the potato chips. I'm snacking on some almonds and cashews. A little healthier.
Me and Go Press be having that talk about eating healthy.
Yeah, man, lit. Like I just showed you, health is wealth here. Right? So, again, this one is a little more expensive. So he's paying $37,000 or $3,000 a month. But in his first year, he's already got $20,000 worth of cash value, right? Whereas in this scenario, same policy, he's only paying $941 a month, right? But again, this is why you can't ask an agent how much is a life insurance policy, because everything else is the same with this guy, John Journey, except for the way that we manipulated it because of the purpose of the policy. So this one, let's see, it takes till about year 4 for him to get nearly $20,000 worth of cash value, where in this scenario, year 1, he's got $33,000 worth of cash value to borrow against and $19,000 if he cashes out and cancels the policy. Now, let's look at the course of 10 years. So for the course of 10 years here, he's paid out of his pocket $375,000. But he's got $447 to borrow against, and if he cancels the policy or cashes out, he's going to get a check for $445. So let's check this out. Let's do math really quick. Hold on, let me shrink my screen so I can see both numbers. Right? So 375, 874 minus, let's just do the cash out value, 445, 579. So if you cash out, right, You basically got paid 70 bands for leaving your money with the insurance company over the course of the last 10 years. And it's on paper as a contractual guarantee that this is possible, that this will happen as long as you keep your premium payments. Right? Now, let's continue. Right? And we're looking here over the course of 20 years. He paid out of pocket $751, but he's got $1.3 million in cash value. Also, his death benefit is now $3 million. So should he die at 43, his family would get $3 million, but he only paid for $1 million. So the finesse is real. This is why you get it at 23 and it keeps growing, right? Now, we went to 30 years, right? So after 30 years, he paid $1.1 million out of his own pocket, but it's increased to $2.948 million. And if he should croak at 53, his family would get $5 million. But anywhere along the line, let's say year 10, you wanted to go buy a house, you can actually go to the bank, and let's say the house is a little over $1 million. Well, you've got a $1.5 million death benefit on your life insurance, or 447 million, and then you got $447,000 worth of liquidity to borrow against. So now when you go to the bank in 10 years ready to buy your house, instead of having saved that money at Chase Bank and only having maybe the $37,000 that you saved, because you're not going to put this money away unless you look at it as a bill, now you've matriculated $375,000, because if you put it in the bank, even growing at 0.5% interest, because it's not compound and because it's annual, you're not going to get this much of a return. So you're $375,000. Somebody, I can't remember what the calculation was, but they were like, if you put $200 a month away every month from now until from like age 40 to 65, it's like less than 200 grand. Right? So you put this money away in your bank, getting no interest, and all it did was gave the bank a source of money to borrow from, but it didn't give you anything. You follow me? So there's one more thing I wanted to do. Right? But again, so you take that to the bank and you can actually borrow against this. So say the house is $500,000. You want to go get a loan for $500,000, but you got, bad credit. Hey, listen, I got collateral. What? Yeah, I've got almost the full amount, $447,000 in collateral. Where at? Life insurance. So they know it's guaranteed. They know it's there. They know if you die, they get their money. They know if you default, there's money there that you can take, liquidate very easily and pay off the loan. So you want to be thinking forward. That's why you want to get life insurance at 23. One of the reasons. Right? I showed you the buy-sell agreement. So if you're interested in having a business, that's another reason. Now, let's flip the script a little more. Right? Because this is, again, paying in perpetuity. I don't mind the concept of whole life insurance, Alonzo, or permanent insurance. I like this index universal. I've got the disposable income. I'll give you an example. My brother, who lives in Texas, who works on the oil industry, right? So he works on, I think, like an oil rig. So I showed him life insurance policy. I showed him two options. I showed him one at $1,000 a month, and I showed him one at $250 a month. He wanted to go with the one that was $1,000 a month, and I wouldn't let him because I was like, you just started working this job. You're just getting used to making, he's almost making $100,000 a year. So I'm like, you just got started making this money. I want you to have a moment, since you just got it, to go ahead and splurge a little bit. So go ball out, spend some money, have a little bit of fun. We'll lock you in at the 250, and then we'll come back in the future and we'll increase, right? But being young, right? He's 27, right? So being young and is no excuse, because people will say that, but people at 23 also have kids, right? And they'll say the same. Well, I'm young. Why do I need life insurance? Because you said I'm gonna do no matter what it takes to make sure I take care of these kids and make sure that they got stuff better than I did and make sure they get everything that I didn't have. And then you do stuff like Mo3 and die, or like a lot of these rappers and die, like DMX, and his estate owes $1 million. Now, let's look at the fact that, again, sometimes you don't want to pay this stuff in perpetuity. You don't want to pay it forever and ever and ever. That's why I like term better. I just want to pay it for 10 years. So let's look at if he just pays it for 10 years. Everything else is the same. Except he's only going to pay it for 10 years. Right? So obviously that's going to up what he pays per month substantially. Right? Let's make sure I did this right, because sometimes the software be tweaking. Yeah. So, again, he's only going to pay it for 10 years. So, he's going to pay the same $375,000, but he only pays it for 10 years. So, the cash value doesn't accumulate as fast because now he's not adding to it. But again, the first 10 years, he paid $375,000. After that, you see all these zeros because he's not paying anything else but that $375,000. Yet year 20, he's still got $875,000 in cash value. The death benefit is almost $2 million. So if he dies, his family gets almost $2 million. But since he's still alive, excuse me. Sorry. Since he's still alive, he's got this $835,000 of cash value to borrow against. Right? But like I said, we want to look at things at a 30-year time horizon. So he's invested for 30 years, or he's paid in for 30 years. I'm sorry, I'm not calling it investing. And I'm sorry, he only paid the first 10 years, but he kept the policy for 30 years. So he hasn't put anything in but that initial $375,874. Now, it's 30 years later. He's kept the policy. If he decides to borrow against it or cash out, he's got $1.5 million there. So it's the value of time. Now, let's do this same scenario, but let's change his age 10 years. Right? So instead of being born in 99, we're going to say he was born in 89. Let's look at the cost of waiting. So everything else is the same. Right? And I think I have this policy set up only for him to pay into it for 10 years, just like I did with the other one. So everything else here is the same, except he's 10 years older. Right? Let's look at the cost of waiting, because this is something I never actually get the chance to do with young people. So young brother, I hope you're still in there, or at least come back and watch from the clouds. So let's look at the cost of waiting 10 years. So, for starters, it cost them substantially more. Over the course of 10 years, from 23 to 33, he paid out $375,874, right? Over the course of 10 years here, he paid out $485,094, right? Let's try to make all things equal here. Let's do this. So we're just going to do to 43. We're just going to have him pay for 10 years. From 33 to 43. So that we can see things apples to apples. All right. I'm going to close some of these other windows so that my StreamYard isn't too weak. Okay. Now, this is the difficulty of waiting just 10 years. So it costs him $1,000 a month more, right? Or $11,000 a year more, right? for waiting just that 10 years. So, boom. Now, again, he's only paying for 10 years. That's why you see those zeros. So, it almost cost him $100,000 just because he waited 10 years, right? But let's see if it costs him more than $100,000, right? Because now we're going from 33 to 43. And since we were looking at a 30-year time horizon, so we're going to look at the age of 53 right here. So 20 years in, because he waited 10 years. So he only paid out of pocket $485,094, and at the end of that time, he's got $1.06 million. At age 53, he's only got $1.06 million available to him. Whereas he put away $100,000 less 10 years earlier, and now at age 53, he's got $1.5 million available to him. So let me do the math: 1.61069,827, right? Minus, what's this here? 1,555,4061. So waiting 10 years cost him $484,234. Right? Because we're not talking about the death benefit, about what the people are going to get when you die. We're talking about what you're going to get while you're alive. So what you have to either borrow against or spend liquid. So waiting just 10 years, you end up costing yourself almost $500,000. But let's go a step further. Why do I say that? Because most young people that I speak to, especially black men, ain't even thinking about getting a policy at 33. And they say the same thing to me that you'll say. It's even when they do have wife and kids. But I also get it often when they don't have wife and kids. Right? So let's make a dude 43. Let's see. Because most dudes will be like, I'll just wait till my 40s. You know, when I'm properly responsible. So we're going to make this dude 43. Right? Everything else is the same. Except, again, we're looking to age 53. Right? Because that's been our stopping point for the last few. Right? Is age 53. So, this gentleman, again, everything else is the same in this policy, except now his age, he's 20 years older, right? So, waited to get it till he was 43 instead of at 23, right? So, the cost of waiting, right? So, waiting that 20 years, waiting to get it until you're 43. So, now it costs you nearly $30,000 a year more, right? And it's less likely that you're going to be as healthy at 43 as you are at 23. So remember, like I said, things like just being overweight, maybe you picked up a smoking habit, maybe as a lot of black men, you're on heart disease medicine because you got high blood pressure, diabetes, all sorts of stuff. So over that 10 years, you spent $637,000, almost $300,000 more. And at the end of 10 years, you've only got $748,000 or $745 of cash value, right? Now, at the end of that 10 years, you're age 53. So we're not even going to look any further because here at age 53, right, which is only going to be, 20 years down the line, you got $1.06 million. Here at age 53, you've got $745,000, less than a mil, $750,000. Here at age 53, you've got 1.06 million. And here at age 53, you've got 1.5 million. Right? So you earn $500,000 by just doing something a little bit earlier. Now, right? Let's flip this back to the dude who, now let's flip this to, let's make you 63. Right? Because I want to show you something else. And we're going to take the policy from when you were 23. So this is the policy you got when you were 23, right? And we're going to look at how much money you have at age 63, right? So again, you only spent the $375, but you've got $2.8 million worth of cash value. Now you can actually flip that into a retirement account. So say you would put that in an immediate annuity, right? So let's say, what is it? They're going to tell me I got to go to home office for policies more than 2 million. So we'll go 280000. Right? So $2.8 million preview. Right? Because this is at age 63. Right? So at age 63, you put yourself in a single premium. Actually, there's probably an easier way to do this. No, I can only do the preview. Can't we do the reports? Reports. Yeah, well, then these are different. For example, getting married, growing your family, starting a new job, planning for college, caring for a loved one, planning for retirement, or planning your estate are some of the other reasons that you may have it. Where is it here? Here we are. So again, now this is on a cost basis of just $10,000, but again, he put in $2.8 million. So what does that mean? So now, remember, this is a bunch of years from now, right? This is 40 years from now, young man. Now you're 63 instead of 23. You put all that money in that life insurance policy all those years back. Let it sit there and build because you weren't looking to die with that life insurance policy, right? Now you're 63. You're past age 59 and a half, so you can legally retire. So it's time to hang it up. You cancel that life insurance policy. You put $2.8 million in an annuity, which is a retirement account. It's an immediate IRA. Within 30 days, you're going to start getting a monthly payment of $11,497 a month until the day you die. They assume that will be 21.6 years. So they're assuming that you will be 84, almost 85 when you die, and they will have given you $2.9 million, even though you only put $2.8 million in there, essentially almost $200,000 more than you put into this insurance product called an annuity. Now, here's the beautiful thing. Let's say you live more than 21.6 years. So you live to 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92. Well, they're going to be spending more than $2.98 million because they're going to have to give you this $11,500 a month every month until the day you die. Now, let's look at the flip side again of waiting just 10 years, right? So this is the one where we waited 10 years. You got it at 33. Again, we're looking at 53, right here. And again, how much money is there at age 63? So for you at age 63, not too far off. It's 1.9 million, right? So if we put that in here, 1900000, right? 1.9 million. Take a look at that. Preview. Right? So the cost of waiting that 10 years, you cost yourself $5,000 a month, right? I don't know if this may be hard to see, right? But you cost yourself $5,000 a month. So it says here, you put that 1.98 million. And again, this is an immediate annuity. And again, this is not financial advice. This is more of an opinion or an educational edutainment, if you will. This is just for educational purposes only. This is not specific to your situation. This is for education purposes only. You was about to say something, She?
I was letting you rock.
Oh, all right, cool. And once again, thank you, bro, for letting me rock. I've been going for nearly 2 hours now. I didn't even realize it.
Man, but like I said, this is the information that's important, man. When guys typically want to look at life insurance, they want to know what all the benefits of actually having it, because it's one thing to have a life insurance policy and it's just sitting there, but to actually know what you can use the policy for, like you were saying, buying houses, dealing with business, setting it to the degree, like we always talk about, generational wealth, and knowing your options when getting these policies. How can it benefit you? What are your risks, as far as you having health illness, you might want to, work out, lose a little weight before you actually get the policy, because it's beneficial for you. Like you said, they typically go off a scale of, you're at this weight, you're at this age, you should pay this, because everybody's in this bad health condition in this area pays this much money, and you fit the bill of everybody else, so you're going to pay this high premium. But if you're in A1 condition, you have a low than average weight, because to a degree, we always say the BMI is kind of thrown off, or it's particular race, gender based, and everything. But if we're gonna go off that, you got to understand that BMI, that's what you're being scaled off of. So you got to typically lose the weight. You got to start working out. You got to have yourself at a advantage when you get your policy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for a lot of people, they actually don't, do the work. And that's the biggest thing. And like I always talk about with you, Alonzo, that's why I always shout you out, do the panels, do reviews about your video, because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you know, people not having an understanding that when you get these policies are not just something that you can go off of to say, well, I got a policy. No, the policies are actually, for your family, generational. You getting older, you want to leave something for the kids. What better to leave than a policy? Same thing with in business. You set things up in business to see success. If you're single or you're married, a lot of people, they always looking at it as, well, if I'm married, I'm looking at the policy for my family. But what if you're single? You gotta look at the policy for yourself. Leave something to your nieces and nephews. That's the way you create generational wealth. You can't be selfish in the marriage. And that's what a lot of people take for granted. When you looking at, this my money, I'm gonna die, everything with it. That's I put up a video about Steve Harvey talking about that he's gonna spend 85% of his money, and he had a friend who was a billionaire, and he's leaving three of his kids $500 million.
Hmm.
That's $1.5 million he's investing only in his kids to get. That's not even including assets, because with Bill Gates said he's gonna leave less than 10% of all his money that he has to his kids. And
Hmm.
I'm like, wow, 10%, of the money that Bill Gates has. But then you look at the assets that Bill Gates has, the different companies that Bill Gates have. You know, Bill Gates not talking about how he's leaving that much money. Bill Gates is worth 100, I think 140, 130 some $1 billion.
Mm.
At 10%, that's still a lot of money.
It's like
You know?
110 million or something.
Yeah. And then not only that, you're getting a portion of Microsoft. You know, that's like if Bezos if he had kids and everything, and he said, "Well, I'm not leaving my kids Amazon. I'm only gonna leave them 10%." You know, and this guy's in the 300s of billions. But the point of it is, he's giving shares in the company. The shares in the company, to the degree, are going to be worth more than the money. you
Mm-hmm.
know so that's the biggest thing about us, as being mediocre to an extent, not really having that type of wealth. The best thing to do is provide the life insurance, because I'm gonna keep going back to this. It takes two to run a household. If one of the family members die or get a terminal illness, that's gonna put a strain on the income. And with life insurance, like you say, with the universal life, you have an issue with the life insurance, you can always say, boom, I got life insurance. A situation happened. I can go on my life insurance, get a percentage out, help with the bills, help with my medical expenses, and I continue living life. With no life insurance, no anything, what can you do? You just say, well, I'm ready to die.
Mm-hmm.
Just self-explanatory. To a degree, those doctor visits cost money. You don't have a spouse, someone's got to take you to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That life insurance is going to provide that extra coverage to where you can have an in-home nanny, or a caretaker to come and provide service for you 24 hours, limited time to a degree. you know that's the whole thing. See, a lot of people, they don't think about this stuff when it happens. Just like we was talking about Red Pill Financial. Like you say, not picking on him, but he's 23 years old. If he goes through anything, he maybe can rely on his parents or something. But if he got bad relations with his parents, who can he rely on? But with that life insurance, that sets the standard to where you say, I'm 23, I just started my policy, don't really got too much in there, but to the degree the policy is gonna, carry on, take on that responsibility till the longer I have it, if anything goes on, I'm getting the benefits of the policy,
Right.
whether I be married or single.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
So I'll show you guys the last one of, again, waiting, right? So waiting too long. So that was if he waited 10 years when he was 33 and bought his life insurance. And again, this is just saving up for retiring, right? I haven't nowhere here have I talked about dying, right? This is just life insurance building up cash. So let me see what's the cash at age 53 here, because it's 60, or excuse me, at 63 here. So 63 here, he's got 1.3 million. So we'll change that 9 to a 3, right? And again, this is a different type of basically it's an IRA, right? What they call an immediate annuity. And like I said, it works differently than the IRAs that people who are under retirement age have even been advertised to, right? As it says, single premium immediate annuity. So anytime in insurance you hear single premium, which you can even do this with your whole life insurance, you pay one time and one time only. But again, that's very expensive. So this one, waiting another 10 years, you only get $5,000 a month when you turn 63. Right. And again, this is assuming that, he's 63 in 10 years now, but you're 63 in 40 years, bro. So in 40 years, inflation will have killed this, and putting away $1.3 million won't be nearly the same thing as it is today. Right. But these are just some of the ways and the strategies that you can actually employ. And you may want to use your life insurance for other things, because again, I just took the cash values from these life insurance policies and put them into another life insurance product, which is a retirement account. And at the date, like I said here, it shows you purchase it. They're assuming you purchase it today, February 9th, 2022. And they're assuming that you're going to start receiving your monthly payment of $5,338.02 a month starting March 11th, 2022. The benefit frequency is monthly. So they're saying that based on the $1.3 million you put into your retirement account, your IRA, immediately, next month you'll start getting $5,338 a month for the rest of your life until the day you die. We expect that at age 63, when you put this money in here, you're going to live till the age 84 and a half. At 84 and a half, with us paying you $5,338 a month, that's going to be exactly $1,383. Sorry, $1,383,614.78. It's literally an amortization schedule. It's literally showing you the only variables in this are you, the payor. So if you don't pay certain things, for example, in your life insurance illustration, the only if or the only variable or the only speculative thing in this is you, the payer. So if you don't pay your premium, or if you borrow against it too soon, then that changes these numbers. But if you put the money in there saying, look, I want to wait 20 years from now, I want to have X amount of dollars, you're going to get that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to go, what is the average? What is the average investment time horizon? Oh, I spelled the word horizon wrong. Okay. So now we're on Google. Let's see. This is Investopedia. What does Investopedia say? So investment time horizon. So what is an investment time horizon? Investment time horizon, or just time horizon, is the period of time one expects to hold an investment until they need the money back. Time horizons are largely dictated by investment goals and strategies. For example, saving for a down payment on a house or for maybe 2 years would be considered a short-term time horizon, while saving for college would be a medium-term time horizon, and investing for retirement would be a long-term time horizon. Let's take a look here. So understanding investment time horizons. So short-term investment time horizons. The short-term time horizon refers to investments that are expected to last for fewer than 5 years, right? These are these are good for people who are currently approaching retirement, or you need a large sum of money in the near future. So those are things like money market accounts, savings accounts, CDs, short-term bonds, right? So those are good things for short-term horizon investing. So when you're looking at medium term, right? So those are investments where you expect to hold it for 3 to 10 years, right? So that's people saving for college, if you're looking to get married, or you're looking to buy a first-time homes, right? So minimum term investment strategies tend to balance between high and low risk assets. So a mix of stocks and bonds would be a suitable way to protect your wealth without losing value to inflation. Or you could just get an index life insurance and get the best of all of the worlds. Right? And then there's the long-term investment horizon. So the long-term investment horizon is for investments that one expects to hold for 10 or 20 years or even longer. The most common long-term investments are retirement savings. Long-term investors are typically willing to take greater risks in exchange for greater rewards, right? And then it has an example of an investment time horizon. Right? So it says, let's say two people married, and while they live in the city now, they'd eventually like to move out to the suburbs in a few years, but they don't have the money for a down payment on a house. So they'll need to start saving up. That's a short-term investment horizon. Well, you can, even with a life policy, let's change them back to 23. Right? Even with a life policy, give me 1 second here. I'm going to go to a universal. Wow, yeah, wouldn't be able to do that. What did I do? Percent of target. No. Let's go input 1 million. Right. And we'll put this, so we'll fund it. We'll do B here. Right. Boom. So let's look at, again, that short-term investment horizon, right? So let's take a look at what Investopedia says, right? So saving up a house, they call that a short-term investment horizon, right? So short-term investment horizons are usually 3 to 5, fewer than 5 years, right? So let's look at fewer than 5 years here. Let's see. Right, so a short-term investment horizon. So he knows in 5 years, what the heck? Whoa, what just happened here? Why is there $1 million? Boom. Lump sum cost base. Oh, I have it printed to age 24. No wonder. Okay. Let's go 100. Let's go 65. Wow. Okay. That's why I had it paid for 1 year. So that would actually, let's do that, because that's a single premium, right? So let's take a look at a single premium really quickly. So this is going to be, how much does it cost for him to pay just 1 year? Right, and I'm going to have to do a little manipulation with the software. I'm good on comment sheet.
Yeah, you good. Like I said, everybody just, talking amongst each other, saying hello, and that's about it.
No problem, no problem. Okay. So, single premium, right? That means you're paying one time and one time only. So at 23, if you want just $1 million worth of life insurance, just the protection, you pay $50,000 into the policy. Now it's going to fall apart in a few years, but you would pay basically $51,000 one time, and until you were, well, it's not falling apart. Okay. It's still not falling apart. How far along are we now? We're at age 50. So at age 53, you put away 50,000 one time at age 23, and at age 53, you got 115 grand. And this policy is not falling apart for some odd reason. So I was trying to make it so that it falls apart so that it's very unattractive, but I think I just didn't do that. So yeah, at age 63, you still got okay. So at such a young age, doing a single premium policy, there's no way to lose, apparently. So again, let's take a look here. Though we're going to look at paying into it monthly, right? And again, this is overfunding it. So this is the most money you can pay a month into $1 million life insurance policy at the age of 23. You can't pay more than $3,132 a month, right? That's the most that they'll let you pay into it. But let's look at that investment time horizon. Let's look at 5 years, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So at year 5, you have $176,000 to borrow, to cash out, 176,953. Or if you want to use it to borrow, so you can actually use it as collateral and go to the bank and use that life insurance policy and say, hey, I have liquid $187,000 to borrow against. I need to borrow $500,000 for my house. So let's see. Let me do the math. 37,587 times 5. 37587, right? Times 5. So you spent out of pocket 187. So it's about the same. So if you put $37,000 a year away for 5 years, you break even. It's 187,063 to 187,935. So maybe in the short term, well, there's actually another way to beat it up so you can pay more than the 3,100, but then it changes your tax strategy. So I don't want to talk about tax strategies here, but there is a way. Actually, you can, let's do maximum. There is actually a way you can pay more than 3,100 and beat that cash value. There's actually 2 ways, right? Because we could do it like this by just overfunding. Let me scroll down to where it's overfunded, right? So we could do it like this, but why is it single premium? No wonder. Let's do 65. All right. Yeah, we'll preview again. Why is this one? Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So again, over the course of that 10 years, you paid $375, but you got $447 to borrow against. This one, okay, out of the course of 10 years, you paid. Wait, why is it the same? Oh, yeah, because the most you can pay is $3,100. Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, the maximum you can pay into $1 million policy at 23 is $3,100 a month, without it being considered a modified endowment contract. Now, if we wanted to, we could also do indexed. Right, and let's leave it like it is, and let's see if I index it. This usually screws up. It did not screw up. That's awesome. Let's see if the numbers change. This is only at $1,000 a month, right? But you can index the policy at only $1,000 a month. But what happens is indexing it, you're increasing your premium per year. So you increase what you pay a month. And then gradually over the course of 10 years, instead of $1,000 a month, it's $2,000 a month and so on. But it's just beating up your cash value. So, after the first 10 years, you paid 174 in, but you got 178 out. After the next 10 years or 20 years in, you paid in 468 in, but you got 701 out. And in 30 years, you paid 882 in, but you've got almost $1 million, 1.8 million out. Over 30 years, you paid in, or 40 years, you pay in 1.4, but you're taking out 4.0, so $4 million, right? So, like you were saying, this is how the wealthy get wealthy, right? This is how the wealthy do things like buy houses, because they have collateral that they can literally show to the bank. Hey, I've got collateral to liquidate against. Meanwhile, the average American like you and I is stuck. Now let's take a look at, again, that was a short-term investment horizon. So, midterm, let's say that's, 5 to 7 years, right? So, we're here, and this is, he's 23, and we're looking at, let's say between 7 and 10 years, right? So let's say year 8, right? So $3,700 a year, or 37,000 a year times 10, right? So what is that? That's 3,7,587, right? Times 8, right? So he's paid $300,696 into the policy at this point, year 8. And year 8, however, if he borrows against it, he's got 333,124, right? So we do minus 333,124, and he's increased his initial investment, or his return, to $32,428. Again, there is no investment vehicle that you can have laid out like this that's completely, the only variable is you not making your payment. It's literally like mortgages, by Eve said, if amortization schedule, right? So the amortization schedule literally shows, okay, if I'm paying XYZ for the house, here's my monthly payment, here's what's paid off. Okay, here in February 1st, 2057, I'll be completely done paying for the house. Right? That's literally what this is, an amortization schedule. It's showing you I paid X amount of dollars this year. I got X amount of dollars to borrow against or withdraw from. Okay. That's about all I got, man. In terms of everything. Actually, there is one thing I wanted to do. What was it? What is the average? What is the average investment time horizon? Yeah, I don't want to know what in the time horizon is. I want to know what the average is. Let's see. Why investment time horizon is important. Understanding time horizons. Investment time horizons. Definition and overviews. Let's see. This is Investopedia again. Here we go. This is Bankrate. Let's see what Bankrate says. What is your time horizon and why is it important? So time horizon is a way to assess your risk tolerance or risk capacity as an investor. At its core, time horizon provides the answer to a critical question. When do you need this money? So again, when you're looking at things like holding on for dear life with crypto, it sounds nice to be up $1 bazillion today and down tomorrow and then up again 3 seconds later. But what's your time horizon? When do you need the money? Right? So it says one investing goal that everyone shares is a comfortable retirement. Normal retirement age is 67, but let's say you want to retire at 65. Well, if you're 30 years old in 2021, your time horizon encompasses the 35 years between now and 2056. So earlier in your career, you'll need to accept bigger risks with your investments to accelerate growth and feel comfortable enough to leave the workforce in 2056, right? And then when you're thinking about retirement, it's important to recognize that you'll need to think about another time horizon. You don't need all the money on the day you retire. So depending on your health and the history of your family longevity, your money may need to last approximately another 30 years, right? And then it says a list of common time horizons. So, they have here, again, the short term, which they say, your emergency fund, a high yield savings or money market account is a great thing. And, those needs are for down payments on a house or like a CD. Medium term, saving for college for your 10-year-old, and then long term, if you're a younger investor, you're looking at a time horizon of, 20, 30 plus years. Why understanding your time horizon is important. Knowing your time horizon is essential for outlining an investing strategy that meets your goals. The The time horizon will dictate a very important distinction: the return of your investment versus the return on your investment. With a shorter time horizon, your focus is tilted toward the return of your investment. You want to make sure you can get your initial investment back and pretty quick. For example, if you need the money next year, you don't have a lot of time to grow it, and you don't have a lot of room to risk losing it. If your time horizon is longer, you'll be thinking about the common definition of ROI, which is a return of your money. The luxury of extra time will let you stomach the more volatility and chase higher returns, right? So basically, your average time horizon, like I said, is 20 years. And like I said, that's pretty much all I got for now. So, any questions or? No? Okay. Um, yeah, I mean that's about it for me. I'm pretty much done, so I'm probably gonna hop off and go lay up with the wife for a little bit. Probably watch some more stuff on these YouTube streets because it is still a little early. Make sure y'all show Sheed some love. Hit that like, drop a comment. Make sure you subscribe and share this. Also, make sure y'all come follow my page. My full name, Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor. Come check me out, book a consult, all that good stuff. As you can see, I'm a breadth of knowledge. And, the only thing it's going to do is hopefully help you open up to understand. Obviously, myself, I'm a dynamic advisor. So specifically, I would like you to come to me. But even if you don't come to me, at least you'll be armed with a little bit of knowledge in terms of how to interact with a financial professional. So that's going to be it for me. I'm going to go get running. Thank you, Sheed.
think we have a connection issue. We're back. Okay. I think we're gonna. This is a good place to end right here. Went upstairs for a minute and came back, but understand your thoughts. You know, leave comments. Let's have a discussion.